So, welcome to tonight's episode of Make Some Noise with Doug DeJong. So, here we are. I'm getting really fancy now. I've got like a blue light and a red light. Tonight's all about original artists. But before we bring the artists in, I just want to make a point, have a moment for an awesome artist that's been on the scene for a little while, Mr. Richard Baker. He actually passed away today. He lost his battle with what he was going through. So, just thoughts with you and his family. It's Mr. Richard Baker. But tonight we're going to be celebrating the original arts, and we've got some people down south from me anyway, because I live here in Brisbane. So the first one we've got here is Pam, and we have Frank, and we have Tom, and we have Fiona. So someone's got a monitoring that's up too loud. We've got a echo. Is that? I don't know who that might be. I think I found it. Fiona, I think it's you. I just muted your mic. So, Pam, do you want to maybe introduce yourself first and what you do and how you do it? Oh, Pam, you got to turn your mic on. There we go. You got to turn your mic on. So,
so my name's Pam Hata. I'm a solo artist and I play in a band, and then I run Original Town Lounge for original artist showcases as well.
Very good. And Frank, do you want to introduce yourself there, Frank?
Yeah, I'm Frank Sultana. I'm a singer-songwriter, original musician, and based down on the south coast of Sydney, and been doing it since about 2010. And yeah.
Very good. And Tom, we might go to Tom because Fiona, I think there's an echo situation still there. You want to turn down the other device. Yep. Tom?
Yeah, Tom Raven is my name. I play in the group Kallidad. From Sydney as well. So,
yep, very good. And we might see if Fiona's ready to go. Are you good? Ready?
Yes. Try me now. How's that going?
I think that might. Hello.
Hello.
Test. Cool.
Testing.
Well,
yeah. Cool.
There is a delay.
My name's Fiona Boyes. Sorry.
That's all right. Keep going.
My name's Fiona Boyes, and I'm a blues guitarist, singer-songwriter, and vocalist, and I've been at this for 20 odd years, and currently living in beautiful Yamba.
Very good, very good. And maybe if we, there is a little delay there, Fiona. So we'll have to.
I'm going to just close my iPad.
Okay, no problem. Awesome. There we go. And maybe how many records? Maybe Tom, if you want to go first, how many records have you guys put over the years?
A fair few, actually. I think we've got 5 studio albums, and there's a couple of live ones as well. So we're kind of always writing music and always recording new music. So quite a few.
Do you want to describe the type of music you're doing?
Yeah, so it's a 3-piece instrumental music. It's kind of based on flamenco. A bit of Spanish, bit of flamenco, but we come from a kind of hard rock and heavy metal background. So it's kind of somewhere in that pocket of flamenco, heavy metal, instrumental, just real energetic, upbeat kind of dance music.
And if it's just a trio, do you get touring musos to just come and jump on the gig, or do you write the parts, or do you have like go-to people that are very, very around you?
We definitely have had guest musicians on albums, so we've had friends of ours from different bands, trumpets, violins, and singers and stuff on the albums, and then we've done it live a few times as well. So sometimes we tour with guest musicians, but yeah.
That's cool. And Frank, maybe we've cut to Frank. What kind of and how many records you've got out being an original artist?
I've put out about 8 or 9 like CD EPs and albums since about 2011. So about one a year for the last sort of 8 or 9 years. And it's sort of mostly blues based, I suppose, with a little bit of folk. And I guess I'm inspired a bit by the likes of Tom Waits and Nick Cave. So some of that darker sort of blues, and then the traditional sort of Mississippi Delta blues stuff as well.
Oh, very good. And yourself, Pam, you might just have to unmute yourself there about what you've done.
Yeah, for sure. So I've released 2 singles, and I'm due to release my first EP actually in this country. But I've actually been producing works for probably about 15 years in New Zealand.
Wow.
yeah, that was before I came to Australia. I didn't think I would go pro over here, man. I thought I would, like, I don't know, be sitting behind a desk or something. And then I met Maddie Wu and Scott Mustetti and a bunch of other people who look after the Aussie music scene really well doing festivals. And they sort of challenged me a wee bit. And they're like, do you want to be on the stage or off it? And I couldn't give them a straight answer. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's try a bit of everything and see what sticks best. I'm really enjoying it, yeah.
Oh, cool. And we might just go to, or someone, hey, Veronica. There we go. Just unmute Fiona there. Is Fiona in the house? There we go.
Yes. Hello there. How you doing?
So how many albums have you released, Fiona?
I think I've I've released about 13 under my own name. I had a band before that where we did a few albums, but I'm actually just working on an historic re-release of my very first solo album.
Oh, wow.
20 years, 2000, I recorded my first acoustic blues album. And so since then, I've always played mostly original music, but very much based in the traditions of blues, and starting off as an acoustic country blues fingerpicker.
Wow.
So a lot of ragtime, kind of 1920s style stuff. And then I moved to electric blues, and, I've been very passionate about the notion that blues is a much wider genre than a lot of people give it credit for. So I've spent quite a bit of time in the States, and I've been lucky enough to play with some of the original old black players.
Oh, who have you played with?
So
you can name drop.
Oh, some of my heroes. I got to play with. I toured and hung out and became friends with Hubert Sumlin, who was Howling Wolf's legendary guitar player.
Wow, that's cool.
Some of Muddy Waters' band, and maybe some lesser known players who are just fantastic, like Robert Wolfman Belfour and Pontop Perkins, recorded on one of my albums when he was a sprightly 96-year-old, the legendary piano player from the Delta. He still tried to pick me up. He was an incorrigible ladies' man.
Well, at least you're honest. Well, okay,
so, yeah.
Cool.
So the recent albums, I've been spending more time in Mississippi and the Delta. So I've been exploring more slide and cigar box and swampy Delta through to New Orleans, Louisiana kind of swamp pop, all the different sorts of styles over all these different albums that I've made. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I just want to say before we go to the next question, there is a little delay there still, Fiona. So maybe there's a device near your device that's still got noise on. There's an echo happening there. If we can fix it, cool. I'll mute you as we go. But, rock and roll. But I just want to say to everyone that's watching, if you've got any questions, please let them know. Well, let me know, actually, and I'll let them know what questions you might have. Then we can actually field them as we go. But and also, this has been watched on YouTube. You spewed. I just made up a new website. Anyway, you spewed. Thank you, Colin. Colin is now watching. So next question. So maybe, Nick, if you want to maybe... Oh, Nick. Tom, I mean. Sorry. Looking at two devices. Tom. So Fiona was just talking about going to different places to record. So you said you've got a few albums under your belt. Does the sound that you pull really change where you go to record, or are you recording at home these days?
We've tried a couple different places. 2 studios in Sydney we use mainly.
Yep.
We actually, our engineer that we use most, he actually went to school with us, and the drummer in my group has actually been friends with him since they were 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's kind of our guy, and he now owns a record studio in Sydney. But just when we were starting the band, he joined the studio as an intern, and so he kind of was just learning as we were learning. And a few years ago, he actually bought the studio. So he's kind of done his own journey whilst we've been doing our own journey as well. So we kind of grew and developed together, and he's kind of our go-to guy, just because he's such a good friend, but he knows our sound so well. But we have tried recording. A couple of albums ago, we got a house out in the country, and we actually bought him with us, and he set up his little kind of home studio, mobile studio that way. And personally, I love doing that. I think that's a great way to work.
Wow, that's yeah. Change your environment.
Yeah, and just personally, I find it a lot easier to do something like that when you're not on a tight time frame. It's kind of, you have to get there at 10 and you have to leave at 6, and whatever it is, there's all that pressure that comes with it. When you've got something like your own studio, your home time, you can come and go a bit more freely and get that juices flowing.
And now, you record anything at home these days, or just only...
demos? Yeah, no, just demos. I don't record at home myself. No.
And maybe if we throw it over to Frank, where do you record and how do you record, etc.?
Yeah, look, I've done probably most of my recordings at home over the last sort of 10 years. But in saying that, also doing parts of it at home and then doing parts of it in various studios around Sydney, I guess, over the last few years. So things like drums and for example, there's Music Feed Studio in Tempe that I've used, St. Peter's, sorry, that I've used a few times. They've got a grand piano, so it just makes sense if you want to record piano to just go there and do that. So, and things like some of the vocals I'll do at the studio because they've got, obviously a great range of vocal mics and things like that. But then guitars and a lot of the tracking that I'll do at home, and that's continued right through, so right up until the current stuff that I've put out and the stuff I'm working on at the moment, and everything I've put out in between.
And we'll go over to Pam. What do you do with your recording? You remember the mute button? There we go. Do you record just in the studio, or?
Yeah. All of the recording that I've ever done has been in the studio. Although I have to say, my favourite is probably live recording on the radio. So when we tour your stuff and you do like different radio interviews, I don't think I'm that strong of a recording artist. I think I'm all about the live gigs and interacting with people and playing my sets differently or my music differently. However, I feel like doing it on the day is really important to me, actually. It's part of why I love doing shows and festivals.
Okay. Like to jam it out?
Yeah, you can jam it out. You feel it better. It's all about feeling it, I guess.
Yeah. And I must say, with recording here, I don't know if you guys can actually see I'm in the way there. So I'm actually in my studio here. So this is really, really cool because I've never met you guys, any of you, face to face. I'm a guitarist. Some may say I'm a bit of a shredhead, but I have a jazz degree, so go figure. But so when I'm not doing this, I play a lot of guitar, and I'm in the middle of doing a Genty record. My last record, Steve Vais, producer, mastered it. May as well name drop that. But so I do a lot of instrumental music. So Tom, I can't wait to have a listen to some of your stuff. But I think as I'm actually in my own studio, and behind me I actually have a drum room and a sound room and amp room. I've got way too many amplifiers to even poke a stick at. But I think tools mean nothing unless you got the idea, right? So here we go. We got people there saying hello. There's my mum. And my mum said nothing. Good on you, mum. Excellent. So that's... But so I'm just rounding up, and the next question is about gear. So we might throw over to Fiona there. I'll just unmute you there. Do you have a go-to guitar like Stevie Ray Vaughan or amplifier per se?
Yeah. I'll just quickly say that, seeing I didn't get the recording question, that I've done a couple of live albums, but most of my albums I like to record live in the studio. So most of my albums are recorded in 2 to 3 days, because I think that as much as possible with minimal overdubbing, you just want to get in. And I think particularly with a roots style of music, there's something organic about not trying to layer things too much, just really trying to capture a performance. So that's usually how I've done it, and done a bunch of albums in Austin, Texas at Y Recordings.
Wow.
And the last couple have been in Melbourne with Colin Wynn at 30 Mills Studio. And as far as gear goes, I don't use any pedals to speak of as a guitarist. I pretty much just have a couple of beautiful boutique tube amps. So I'm just going for, a splash of good old-fashioned splishy reverb and play very old school. And started off, as I said, as an acoustic finger picker, still a finger picker on electric as well. Mostly these days, if I had to, I have been recording with a bunch of these strange cigar box guitars. So
I'll just zoom in there. So hold that up. Just zoom in there. So hold that up.
Yeah.
Very
so that's the latest baby. That's the 3-stringer. But I started off with I've got a 4-string lap style one, which you play with a whiskey bottle for a slide. And so I've probably got about 3 cigar boxes that I tour with, a baritone. But if I had to just take one guitar, I would take my Maton Master Sound electric, which is rigid enough to finger pick on, but has got lots of bottom end and is just swampy and gorgeous, and
Hey, Shana.
I love it.
What's the tuning of a 3-string guitar?
All of the cigar boxes are tuned differently. It's like you have to take them out for dinner and find out what they like, because they're all quite, the ethos of these instruments is that they're made out of whatever. Yeah, everyone's getting out there let me get my 4-stringer. The ethos of these instruments is they're kind of, they're made out of whatever you've got. So here's the 4-stringer, which is very fat cigar box. Generally, this one likes B flat, F, B flat, F. The 3-stringer likes D. The 6-stringer's in open G bottleneck, standard bottleneck tuning.
So with tuning it in fourths, you can just use it as a slide.
Yeah.
And have a one chord.
Yeah, it's like one big power chord. So this one, for example, has very, very high action. So you just have to commit to playing it totally slide on your lap. It's not frettable. So I play that one on my lap with a whiskey bottle.
Right. That's good. And what about you, Frank? You obviously you going to want to talk about your
Love all the cigar boxes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I thought, if everybody's flashing their cigar boxes, I thought I should do the same. This one's made by a fellow called Mark Wilkes in Sydney. Calls himself Buzzbox Guitars. So I've got 2 of these, a 3-string and a 4-string. I actually don't use them as much lately as I did when I first got them. I went through when I first got the both of them, I did probably 6 or 8 months worth of touring with them. These days I use them just here and there. I guess my go-to guitars is a 1943 Stella parlor guitar that I've been using for quite a while.
Is that handy?
Is that what?
Is that handy? Can we see it? 1943, that's awesome.
I'll grab it in a sec. I'll show it to you in a sec. It's on the other side of the room. But and a 1944 Harmony archtop. So they're my 2 go-to guitars. And if I'm playing electric, I've got a Strat and a Jazzmaster that I usually go to. But and pedals, sort of just I've got a box full of them, and every few weeks I kind of just change the pedal board around and.
That's awesome.
And but the main ones that stay on there is the Blues Driver and like the Boss EQ and things like that. And I've got a nice Dan Electro reverb tank. And amp wise, I use a refurbished sort of 1950s PA Class A valve amp that got refurbished by a fellow called Warwick Newman down in Melbourne. Through a cab that's got a couple of vintage 30s in it, and that's pretty much my go-to these days.
I love it. I love the technical detail you all have. What about Pam? You've got your cigar box there. You have to turn the mute off. Are you a shredder on the guitar there, Pam?
Oh, on the guitar. No, actually, I reckon I'm a guitarist of circumstance. I have a vast appreciation for people who can shred. So you and Tom are going to get along great. Mad skill. Mad skill.
Awesome.
My cigar box was actually made in Beechwood near Wauchope. And unfortunately, my maker, he passed away, but he gifted me just the electric. So this one has a pickup in it, and it absolutely screams. It sounds
Okay, hang
so
on.
good.
I would just do. I'll read Kelly. Just hold that up again, Pam. I'll just zoom in for you. Here we go on the guitar. Oh, sorry, Kelly. Yeah, there we go.
So it was made in Beechwood near Warhope.
Awesome.
It is a 3-string. I tune it in CGC. And it's got volume and tone in there, and I just whack that into the biggest freaking amp I can find. And
cool. Rock and roll.
So much fun with this thing. It's really cool. Unfortunately, my maker, he passed away just when the fires were happening. And it's unfortunate because I wanted to show him that we were using the cigar box guitars. He made this one and an acoustic one for me with strings. Because that's all he wanted. He just wanted his creations to be played on festival stages. So I'm going to play that as much as I can for the rest of my life. It's beautiful.
Wow. And just before Frank goes, I'll just read Kelly's comment out here. It says, unbelievable. Fiona Boyes is one of my favourite Australian blues artists, Doug. Place of Milk and Honey is one of the gruntiest blues tunes done. Love her like I love Bonnie Raitt. Much respect. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. There you go. Fiona, you have a dead set artist up here. I mean, a fan. You're the artist. And we got another comment here.
This is why we play music. It's for the people.
That's it.
It says, "Hi there. To get where you are today as a music artist, have you artists been independent or have it needed to break in the industry?" We'll get to that. We'll just do the guitar show and tell over to Frank.
Yeah. So this is Stella.
Yeah, wow. 1943.
1943 parlor guitar. Yeah. So
Awesome.
this pretty much gigs everywhere with me has gigged with me everywhere for the last sort of 6 years or so, 8 years maybe. And it is the guitar that I use the most, really.
Whoop, wrong one. Oh, there's me. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my
right.
go-to for the solo shows. And I'll use a looper and stuff like that and a stomp box for the solo shows. And then it tends to be more the electrics for the band shows.
So that guitar, 77 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Did I do the right math?
Yeah, it's about that.
Years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what about Tom? Do you have it? It's all backwards here. Tom, do you have any guitars on hand?
Yeah, I've got a couple behind me.
I'll just zoom. You want to grab it and I'll zoom in when you get back to that?
I might have to.
Yeah, that's all right.
We kind of
I'll just zoom in for you.
Well, we kind of made the conscious decision a while ago when we first started to kind of keep it as simple as possible, really. So we kind of just play Spanish guitars, Spanish nylon string guitars. This one's a Yamaha.
What's on the back of it? What's on the back of it there, man? Over the guitar. Oh, right. It's just aesthetics.
That's just a little,
Racing stripe.
So we started busking is how we started the band, and it was all kind of Spanish acoustic instruments, and our drummer plays a cajon, so it's like a Peruvian box drum, the cajon. And we kind of just keep them clean, no effects or anything, just as clean as possible, really.
Yeah, right. But it's obviously playing flamencos very, very fast, right?
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Can you give us a burl? Can we zoom in? Are you allowed to do something there? Can we do something flamenco-y?
I don't know what the flatmates and the neighbours will think, but it's a lot of percussion. So,
okay, I'm down for it. Let's go.
Something like that.
Oh my God, that was sick. That was awesome, man. Fantastic. So we do have a sorry, Fiona's on mute. Sorry, Fiona, there's still a delay, but modern technology. Here we go. Fiona's unmuted there. So I do have. Fiona's unmuted there. So we do have. I do have a point here from Phil. He says here, hi there. To get where you are today as a music artist, have you artists been independent or have you need an agent to get into the industry? So who wants to go first? Maybe Fiona. Have you engaged an artist? Have you engaged an artist? Sorry,
I've really not struck it with.
Agent.
I've had bookers from time to time, but not really. You know, briefly I had an agent in the States, and I've had mostly done it myself with the help of my husband. You know, I wrote a lot of songs about my exes, of course, because everybody does. But you know, I finally met my match, and luckily he was a lapsed jazz saxophonist who's been very, very supportive of my career, and has become the general, you know, sound guy and lugger and driver. But you know, honestly, I think a lot of agents are confused by original music, and particularly for me, because I play acoustic and I play electric and I play, even though everything I do is blues, it is original and it covers quite a broad palette of sounds. And I think agents sometimes find it confusing they find it easier to market something that's more two-dimensional. That sounds awful, but I think that's a bit kind of how things are, you know. If you can catch one song from an artist and go, yep, that's what they do, then they know what they're selling. And you know, so I think basically I've managed to do what I've done pretty much on my own, I'd say, you know.
Yeah, well, congratulations. That's good. So maybe if we go over to Frank. And Frank, before you answer that question, I've got something here for you. What different open tuning do you like to use, Frank?
I'm either in standard or I'm in open. At the moment, I'm using open F. But
F.
it's just, like every couple of years, I'll just kind of switch it around. But it tends to be like I've gone D, G, and F. These days, I'm in F. But yeah, open D, open G. And then I just kind of feel like a bit of variety more for the singing and and so I'll kind of switch it up a little bit. But you try not to have to take sort of 4 or 5 or 6 guitars on tour with you. So if I can just take 2 with me, then I'm in a much better headspace, you know. And so that's usually one in standard and one in open. At the moment, it's F.
Wow. And just before you answer the agent question, that 1943 guitar, did you actually find that? Or has that been in the family for a long time, or did it find you?
No. I bought it from the States back in 2011. I went over there for a few months and I picked it up over there and brought it back with me, yeah. The other one that I've got, which is a 44 Harmony, which I can show you quickly.
That's not 75 years old.
I bought from the same bloke in the States, but he shipped this one over to me. This one's gorgeous. This is like a archtop jazz guitar.
It looks like an L7, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like the poor man's Gibson at the time. Solid top, carved top. She's beautiful, and the headstock alone is worth the asking price. Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, so from the same bloke in a state of Maryland in US. So I can't think of his name off the top of my head. It was about 10 years ago that I bought them, but yeah.
Sorry, we should. Sorry, if we can just zoom. I forgot to zoom in on your 1944 one. Is that cool to do a zoom in there?
Of course.
Because I've got heaps of budding guitarists watching this.
Because no, we don't like showing off our guitars. So no, don't zoom in on that. Yeah, so
that's beautiful, man. 1944. That's as old as my dad.
Yeah. Actually, it's as old as my dad too.
Well,
but yeah, just the headstock alone, man. It's all like hand carved and painted, and
it's
just beautiful. Yeah.
There was no machines back then to do anything.
No.
So getting back to the question, to agent or not to agent, being an original artist.
I've done all of it over the years. And so I started booking myself, and then I joined the Harbour Agency for a few years in Sydney. And so I was booked through them. I think ultimately it's just about having a good relationship with the actual booker who books you. And I've been lucky enough to have that. And I've just recently, so I went the last sort of 2 years booking myself again, just to kind of get back into it a little bit. And I've just recently joined up with Rhythm Section Management that are based out of Byron Bay. But yeah, it's just all about having a relationship with your booker, I think. And if they understand you and what you're trying to get and what you're trying to achieve, and you can work together, then I think it's a really great thing to have. I've enjoyed booking myself the last 2 years, but I'm really excited about not having to do that at the moment, to be honest, if I'm going to be honest, because it's a lot of work.
Yep. And if we throw it over to Tom, I can understand. I'll do the same. Tom, the agent or not to agent being an original artist?
Yeah, well, we've kind of done both through the years as well. We've kind of figured now, luckily for me, one of the other guys in the group loves booking, and he loves that kind of the hustle of it. So it's good for us. But in saying that, we've kind of done enough laps around Australia now that we don't really need bookers so much. We kind of know all the places that we want to play. It does definitely help overseas though. So that's something we do use. We try to go to Europe every year, so it definitely helps in places like Europe to have kind of local agents. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think today with the internet, everyone knows, like, because of these mobile devices, everything's on the net, so it's really easy to get a reputation, whether it's good or bad. And I think actually Frank and Fiona actually brought this up too. I think there's a relationship, and I think a lot of new up and coming people don't know that until it's too late. It's not always about the dollar, because at the end of the day, the agents are in business too, or they used to do what you used to do, change gears. So maybe Pam, if we throw over to you, to agent or not to agent, being an original artist.
Yeah, well, I love being independent, and I've always been independent. I do have relationships with really great agents when I'm touring. If I'm going to do a massive tour, for sure, you need agents on board as well. And I love working with professionals. So I have a healthy respect for what agents do. It is hard booking all of those stages, keeping the venues happy, trying to look at artists, maybe if you're not an artist yourself, and all of a sudden have an appreciation of what we all do as well, and figure out whether or not a crowd's really going to love that. Like, that's a tough gig. So I like and I appreciate what they do for us. But in the same token, being independent gives you so much more freedom to create the way that you want to create and to reach the people that you want to reach and stay authentic and true to yourself and your sound and what you're doing. So I'm leaning more towards independent.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. And I think we started with Fiona, I think, about the agents, didn't we?
Yes.
Yep. So here's a question. I might go around again. I'll just turn the echo off for a sec. Sorry, Fiona. So at what stage do you introduce visuals as an artist? So yes, everyone can make a record. You can do that at home now. So maybe we'll start with you, Fiona. I'll turn your mic on in a second. At what stage did you introduce visuals as in a video clip?
Oh my goodness me. I've really been a bit of a Luddite here. And I also realise I've done a disservice in the agent section, because I do have an agent in Europe, and that's my beautiful drummer, Pablo Leone from Rhythm Train Management in the north of Italy. So my hopes and prayers go to Pablo. I've been in contact with him recently, and he's doing fine. But I usually do go to America for a chunk of time, like a month, a year or two, and also usually to Europe for a month or so, and Pablo usually does the bookings there. As for videos, I've never really done a proper video clip. I was always really resistant to it. I mean, there's lots of stuff up on YouTube which has been, mostly bootleg stuff at gigs. but I've just started recently making compilation video clips and created a YouTube channel, which is often based on my Mississippi style folk art and photography. And like I have one song that's about a particular juke joint in Clarksdale, Mississippi. So last time I was there, I actually played a gig at Red's Juke Joint, and then I just, drove around the streets of Clarksdale taking phone footage and then compiling photos of all the characters from round town and friends and other musicians. And so I've started experimenting with some moving imagery, but it's I certainly haven't gone the big guns and done a production yet.
That's for you,
but
Fiona.
I've had some good.
That's for you, Fiona.
Oh, bless you, Kelly.
So, what's your
man.
YouTube channel?
You can
What's your
come to
YouTube
anything.
channel?
I don't have enough subscribers yet. Please go and subscribe so I can actually have enough enough subscribers to actually have my own name on the channel. But if you go to my website, fionaboyes.com, and there is a link to the channel on a YouTube page,
Okay,
which also
cool.
has some other stuff. There's like a nice clip. I played on Rock Quiz once, and I've got to say everyone was
cool.
lovely. And the rock, and so I have some clips like that that are up on my website, and you can get a link to my funky creations there.
Was that at the ESPY when they filmed it?
Yeah, the Gershwin Room, and it was it was a wonderful experience, and it was very cool because I think it's quite rare for blues musicians to get that sort of mainstream exposure, and so I got to duet with Russell Morris, and the Rock Quiz Orchestra was just delightful. Everybody was fantastic, and it was a treat to have that opportunity.
That's awesome. And we'll go over to Tom. Thank you, Fiona. Video, how important is that in marketing an original act, and when did you use it, and how?
Admittedly, my favorite video clips for bands that I'm a fan of have always been the live clips. I always love watching live video clips, so we've kind of dabbled with video clips a little bit, but still we tend to favor live clips, so just filming of a live gig or something. And we've done it a bit. I think the days of kind of, the MTV style video clips are gone. I don't think they're kind of as important as they probably were kind of, back in the day, but
Telling
YouTube
a story.
and,
Yeah.
and kind of, that 80s, 90s, it was really huge budgets put into video clips and all that thing. I think now though, YouTube is great for video clips, but my favorite ones to make and to watch as a fan are always live gigs.
And then for your own marketing material, being an original artist, when did you start filming yourselves on tour or in the studio?
Yeah, both. We kind of try to film at least something.
I want my MTV.
we always try to film something whenever we go away. So whenever we're touring or whenever we're kind of together in a studio, we always try to film something, even if it's not for an official film clip, if it's just as a kind of little promo of an upcoming tour or something like that. So we try to be pretty active on YouTube and Facebook and stuff with that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I checked your page out, man, on Facebook. You got 15,000 followers, so you must be doing something right, man. So.
I personally don't have Facebook, so that's not my.
Oh, really? Is that Kallidad? Oh, right.
That's the band one. No, it's the band's one. But,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, man, I did my research, but anyway.
That's that's my bandmate who's into that. He's really good.
Okay.
At that stuff, so.
Well, he's doing a great job with that.
He's doing a good job. Yeah.
So we might throw it over to Frank about video marketing, and what's your opinions about that?
Look, I kind of feel the same as the other guys, really. I think the live stuff is what people tend to gravitate towards more, and especially if they're thinking about coming to see you play, I guess it makes sense that they want to look at a video of you live, Over the years, I've mixed it up. Like every time I put out a single or a new record, I try to do a film, like a real film clip. And so I've got a few of those up. But if you look at the views, really, it's the live stuff that people are looking at. We've been lucky enough to do a few really nicely produced in-studio live performances, which were videoed, which are really, really nice because the sound is obviously really great and it looks really nice. And yet you still get to play live. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So been lucky enough to do a few of those. And also, if you're playing at a festival or something and you can actually engage a decent videographer to come and shoot it, it's really worthwhile as well. So yeah, I think I agree with the guys on that one. It's probably the live stuff is where it's at, really. Especially I think for rootsy kind of artists like ourselves. I mean, we're all slightly different in the genres, but we're all in that same kind of field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Kelly, we'll find out in a minute. And maybe Pam, do you have any view on that about using video for marketing?
Yeah, video marketing. I've got to say, I never did video until my first East Coast Australian tour. And even then, it was not a planned thing. It was like a little girl asked me to sing Moana, and I was viciously hungover after doing a few house concerts and shows the night before. But, you know, when a 2-year-old asks you to sing Disney, you do not say no. So my sound guy was like, I'm going to put this iPhone onto a mic stand, and we're going to film that. And that, even to today, is still my most watched, most authentic video clip that I've put together. But in saying that, video marketing in something like COVID, the lockdown right now, how good would MTV be? How good would that be right now when you've got nowhere else to look and go and play? Video marketing, making sure that your streaming is on point and that you've got some kind of strategy as to how often you're going to be seen, when you want to release it, if you've got stuff coming up in your year that you want to release, and geeing that up so that it matches, especially if you're an independent artist. Yeah, that's important. If you want to book festivals, yes, it's important. They need it in your EPKs, in your press kits, all of it. That's you kind of have to have that if you want to go that next level. It's just
yeah, we'll probably get to streaming in a sec, but I think you've just brought up an awesome point. I was going to ask actually is about being an original artist, about having a timeline. I'm just interested. We might start with Fiona about when you have an idea about making a record. Do you like foresee like 6 months down the track? So in 2 months it's going to be tracked, in 3 months it's going to be mastered, in 4 months it's going to be pressed, and in within 6 months I'm touring it. Is there a recipe?
Yeah. I have got better at that. I used to not be great at that, but I am, and I tend to alternate between acoustic and electric projects. But I also sometimes have to wait for each album is like a snapshot of where I'm at or what I'm thinking, and I love that idea, that old school idea of the album as a body of work. So each album should have its own character and ambience, and it's got down to the stage even like with my last album, which was like a virtual road trip from Memphis through the Mississippi Delta down to New Orleans with various influences of places I'd visited, and that was I even made a handprint block and created the typeface for the album title. I did, and I made artwork for the cover. I just got totally involved in the whole packaging of that. I don't get the streaming just one song thing. I'm kind of a Luddite like that. But yeah, I do. I tend to think more like, okay, I've got a project in hand and I would like to have it out. Usually the release date is the important thing for me. And I've been lucky enough to be nominated several times in the American Blues Music Awards.
Oh, congratulations.
So I often think strategically about where the album's going to be in terms of those award systems. And the possible. That will often inform the release date and the touring options too.
Very well said. And with Tom, what about yourself with putting out art? Is there a schedule?
Yeah, we always kind of try to follow a rough schedule. I think if we don't, we will probably procrastinate a bit too much. So we kind of have to have some sort of
Kelly.
Some sort of goals in there. With when we're writing the songs and playing the songs, we always try to play them live as early as possible. So we like to practice the songs live in front of people, and kind of we write them as we go along. So when they first start as an idea to when we finally record it, the song will probably change quite a lot, but we always try to get them into the live set almost as early as possible. But we've actually just released an album a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, we're kind of writing the songs for the next one already. So it's always doing something like that.
Tom, how long did that process take between writing the material, testing it on live audiences, and then putting it? So you must have just put it out before COVID hit.
Yeah, we did. That kind of put a spanner in the works for the touring. Like we were supposed to be doing the tour. We're supposed to be going to Europe in a few weeks. We were supposed to be. So that's all been cancelled, obviously. But probably about a year between albums, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you have a formula, as you said, write it, perform it live, get feedback and adjust it and track it.
Yeah, it's a loose formula, but yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What is it called, Tom? Sorry, she's on mute. Sorry. There you go. You can ask. I've unmuted you. Sorry.
What's the name of the album? Tell us about it.
Let's name drop it. Name drop.
It's funny. The album's actually called Untitled. So I could just hold up a blank piece of paper, and that'll be your answer. No, so the album's called Untitled. Funny, someone had a question back there. Yeah, that was someone had a question. Someone had a question back there about artists. If any of these great artists, or no, not that one. Someone said something. No, not that one. Someone said something about album covers and artists. Gone are the days of album cover art.
Yeah.
It's funny because we actually just had a great artist from Melbourne do our latest album cover. So we love good album art and good vinyl art and everything. So we try to press all our albums to vinyl. And we've just had an artist do the album cover. And because it came back looking like an amazing piece of art, we decided to call it Untitled. How some artworks in museums, they have the little parentheses and then just Untitled. We kind of wanted to leave it pretty simple and just let the art kind of do most of the talking. So,
but I think that's really awesome, man, that you've actually collaborated with a painter or an artist per se to make art. That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's inspirational.
I still like a good album art and good vinyl covers and stuff. So, yeah. Not all of us are forgetting that, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. There we go. And Kelly had a question about, and I'll get to Frank in a sec because he's got the same question. Are any of these great artists in a position to bless us with a song? Well, maybe at the end. Maybe at the end of the interview we'll do that. We'll see if anyone's up for it. But Frank, a recipe for making some art. What's your take on that? Because you've got quite a few albums out, Frank.
Look, if I'm left to my own devices, I could spend 2 years recording a record. So I normally set a date and commit myself to like a release and a launch before it's even done, usually like a few months out, and then just work towards it. And I found that works for me. It just comes down to whatever works for everybody, you know what I mean? I've spent 6 months, 12 months recording something, and and then I've spent 3 months or 2 months recording something. So admittedly, in the last couple of years, it's been a lot more of just cutting singles and putting them out rather than the full-length albums. But I'm trying to get back to doing that. So the last album I did, called Blues Diaries, I actually recorded over about 7 or 8 weeks, just traveling around from Echuca in Victoria up to Queensland with some portable gear, and just kind of recording in pubs and venues and people's lounge rooms and campsites, and just kind of cut a road record.
I like that.
And for me, playing live is when those CDs kind of move, But so I'm lucky, I guess, that the demographic that comes to listen to blues artists, they tend to want to buy CDs and they want to buy vinyl. But others are kind of looking, they'll come up to you with their phone after the gig and ask you where to find your music. So it just depends. As far as the artwork, I like to do photography and do layouts and create the artwork myself. So I've done all the artwork for my releases, bar one that I had a friend of mine do some illustration for. But yeah, otherwise, I kind of get a kick out of doing the visuals as much as I do the sound, actually. Even with videos, like I kind of produce all my own videos and that as well, because I just enjoy doing it.
Yep. Oh, that's good, man. It was what you just said about your blues population, and I guess also crossover country. They buy CDs. I remember reading this book. I can't remember. Was it Michael Chugg or Michael Gudinski? It's called "Hey You in the Black T-Shirt," and it's just point blank. The people who wear black T-shirts, they are the gold customers at any AC/DC Guns N' Roses show. They're the people that put the dollars over the till, right? Because they call it WIC. It's called walk-in cash. So some of the shows that I've been involved with, they say, okay, cool. Each customer has $200, and I'll probably spend, $100 of that on probably alcohol of sorts. Maybe $60 on the shirt, $70 on the shirt. And the business I was involved, it was actually pressing the live show straight to disc, straight out. Actually, I did. I'll show you a customer here. So this one here, Rob Thomas. So I actually did most of that here. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But I'm just saying about the repeat business comes from the people that wear your product in the rock world with the black T-shirt.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah.
And Pam, do you want to add anything to that? You might have to unmute yourself there.
Yeah, sure. Well, with the Original Sound Lounge, which is like my wee side project, because I think I'm ADHD, so I just like doing heaps of stuff at once. I love the idea that music is art, and we actually encourage live art demonstrations at the showcases that we put on. So our tagline is by artists for artists. We do focus a lot on musicians, but the amount of musicians that create prints and tattoo art, like everything you see here was all done by an artist. They were gifts. They're part of the songs that I write. This behind me is an original piece. I love it. And I feel like it goes with music really well. And when you get fans that want to take a little piece of the fun home with them, they cherish it. I don't think bundles are over. I feel like they're definitely a way forward, especially when we're so disconnected,
Yeah. Well, we might go around the reverse way. I got two more questions, so it's probably worked out well because Fiona's just walked away. So maybe over to Frank first. COVID, how's that going to help or encourage or discourage what you do as an original artist? Because you're spending a lot of time at home.
Oh, look, I think once I got over the initial shock of having to cancel, 6 months worth of gigs and it was like 150 odd gigs or something, and it was particularly, I guess, disappointing. I mean, this was a kind of a particularly big year where that was the plan, was to work a lot, to tour a lot, to hit every state in Australia over the course of the year. So it was particularly, it was tough, right? But once I got over that shock of that and kind of, accepted that this is what's gone down, I'm actually enjoying it, man. Like I'm in my studio now. I'm making music. I've set myself some goals to put stuff out while we're in lockdown. I've done one live show from the studio here, which went really well. And so I'm actually enjoying it. I've bought some new software, recording software, so I'm learning to use that. Some new video editing software, learning to use that. So all the things that we're always saying we're too busy to do, they're the things that I've set myself to do. So I'm actually really enjoying it. And I don't mind. I was saying to someone only today that I should feel worse about missing gigs, but I actually don't. Like I'm actually really enjoying kind of resetting a little and working on some things, And I think because I work from home and I record myself a lot, then this is just perfect. Like it's just an opportunity.
Well said. And Tom, what about yourself? COVID effect, how's that influenced your business?
Pretty much agree with everything Frank just said. It's the initial shock of losing all the gigs and stuff. As I said, we were supposed to be going to Europe in a couple of weeks, and then back again in September. So kind of lost all those gigs, all that flight money and everything's kind of gone. So once you kind of get over that, it is kind of nice to kind of be stuck indoors. It's like, you know, like same with Frank. It's like we tour full time. We do it non-stop. So
That's
we've
amazing.
We've kind of been saying for a long time it'd be nice to have an extended break, but of course it's always really hard to kind of to book that in, and you just kind of keep going. And now we've been forced to have a break. So it's a good time, good moment to slow down and just, I don't know. I've kind of been starting guitar lessons again almost from scratch, you know, like kind of just going right back to the basics and kind of just doing everything all over again from scratch, really. And it's been nice. Yeah.
Wow. And Fiona, COVID effect, has it affected your art?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It was a shock. And, you know, just the first week was this stunned feeling of just cancelling things in the Google Calendar. You know, I was due to be back in America in June and July, Canada in August, Norway in September. We don't know quite, you know, not everything's been cancelled yet, but it was a shock. But I feel much like Tom and Frank in that respect, in that the last few years in particular, I didn't believe I would turn into such a road dog, and it is tiring. It's and unlike Frank, I'm not smart, you know, because I made some albums around these interesting cigar boxes and the baritone, and also I've been teaching blues guitar in Clarksdale, Mississippi, at the Pine Top Perkins Foundation workshops, and bringing those instruments to the students. And so I've been often touring with at least 4, 3 cigar boxes and an electric. And, you know, sometimes I feel like, one of these days I'll go somewhere for a holiday with nothing but a passport, a sarong, and a whole lot of money. You know, that will be great. Instead of feeling like a hermit crab with, guitars on your back and trolleys stacked with stuff. But having said that, I always have a lot of projects on the go, and I feel like I don't have time to do them. So I've been writing. I've been working on the next release. I also do folk art. So my latest thing has been I've been painting this cigar box.
Let me zoom in.
Yeah. So this is it's all still masked up, but it's a tenor cigar box. So it's kind of, and it's I was spending quite a bit of time in Mississippi, where a lot of the musicians are folk artists, and a lot of the artists are musicians, and vice versa. And so I have actually just built what I did in the last week was I started painting this, and then I built a website for my artwork, and my husband makes beautiful turned wood. So we've just that's what we've been doing as well. We've been finding other outlets for creativity.
Very good. And Pam, COVID effect, how's that affecting what you do? And we've got one more question after this, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, well, actually, COVID, I had to completely put my work down for a little bit. Not only did we cancel shows left, right, and centre, I don't know, I switched into, all right, let's help as many people as we can. And we transitioned Original Sound Lounge online overnight. So we were actually one of the first online streaming platforms to look after original artists specifically. In fact, I think there's only 2, and I think we were the first. So I'm just going to build that out until I can make sure that all of me mates, all my heroes, because you guys, everybody on here is like, I fangirl for these people as well. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we just wanted to help. So my creative direction has been going towards building platforms to help other musicians. Originalsoundlounge.com.au has all of it.
Wow. Very, very good. Here we go. We wrap it up with a jam, Doug. Yeah, well, I'm working on that. So if anyone, maybe after this question, if anyone wants to do a song, you're more than welcome. But last question. So it's awesome to meet all of you. You're actually sticking to your guns, and you've been doing this for a long time. So I just want to acknowledge you all, and thanks, Pam, for hooking you all up for this. But just maybe a word of advice to up and comers, and we might start with Tom. Just a little bit of advice to wrap it up.
Something that when we started, it was kind of busking on the street, and I was doing a university degree at the time, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be doing that forever. So one of, I guess, the best decisions that I made was to stop kind of worrying so much about what other people, kind of wanted me to do. And so I kind of finished the uni and then really just gave the music thing a try. And we evolved from the street into clubs and everything. But I think looking back, that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, was not just kind of, I guess, conforming to the idea of other people's expectations, if that makes sense, So we kind of took a risk and quit our jobs and did the music, and that was about 7 years ago now, and we've been doing it full time since then, So I think just don't worry too much about what other people want, and just really focus on yourself, I guess.
Yeah, that's well said. And maybe Fiona, some tips for up and coming original.
I think whatever happens and whatever you decide to do in any creative sphere is that it has to feel vocational. It has to feel like you're compelled to do it, because it's not an easy way of making a living. It's been 20 plus years now where I've had actually no other form of livelihood apart from playing non-mainstream, mostly original music. And it's, there's no security in that, and there's no security of tenure, and all the people, my peers who are busy, being very angsty about their superannuation and their property investments and stuff, you just go. But I think that is the same. Every now and again I think, well, it'd be worse. You could be a poet or a sculptor or,
Right.
So
Didn't think of that. Right.
I think passion and truly loving what you do. So at that point, if you are tempted to do anything that might spoil music for yourself, don't do that. You actually are better to get a job and keep that passion, because music is too beautiful and art is too beautiful and important to spoil. So practice your craft, get to the next gig. That's always been my ethos, and it remains the same. Love what you do. Do your best for an audience, because they're the reason why you get to be a musician. Do your best for them every time, every gig. Try and do your best. Get to the next gig, improve your musicianship. It's an ongoing journey. It's beautiful.
Looks like we've lost Doug, maybe.
All right.
I think we're running this show now. Yeah, okay, wow, all right. So,
maybe we're over our hour limit. Do we have an hour limit? I see a time frame up there.
I don't know.
So, do you guys have any questions?
My only advice would be on time. Always honour your word. And make relationships with the people that you work with over the years. I think sometimes people just take themselves a bit too seriously, and they forget the basics, which is just about relationships with people, right?
Yeah, that's really big.
What about you, Tom?
No, you're the only one left, Pam.
You're the host now, Pam.
Yeah.
I'm just asking because I'm curious.
How about a jam? I think a few of these people are pretty keen for a song.
Wow. Are we actually going to be able to do this though?
No.
That delay isn't pretty.
It's going to have to be a solo.
Yeah, I've only got earbuds. So what I can hear of you is pretty bad. But let's have a try.
Yeah, nah. I'm thinking the same. I think we might.
Yeah.
We might do ourselves a disservice by.
Do one of you guys feel like playing a solo?
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like playing a solo song?
I don't know. That stuff you were playing before, Tom, sounded pretty good to me.
I'd have to go and find a guitar. I've got cigar boxes at hand. So, I mean, maybe we can say watch this space, because I know that I haven't done any live streaming yet at all, but Pam's about to hook me up and
Yes,
believe
Fiona,
that we're doing something
in
with
May.
you.
Yes, we are.
So I don't know quite how that works yet and how we're going to do it, but it is going to happen. Yeah.
It was really good fun. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I had, no preconceived ideas of it, and I had a really good time. I really enjoyed
Great.
it.
Cool.
I'm glad, because it was it took a little while to figure out how to just into 10 steps, so that all you guys had to do was rock up and play.
Yeah.
Rock up and play. I just try to stick to what we normally do at festivals, like when do I rock up? What shall I play? How does the payment work? Just the nitty gritty, the normal stuff that artists going on.
I've just lost you guys.
Ah.
Look,
I don't
there
know
he
what's
is.
going on here.
Oh. I think someone, I don't know, the power supply was interrupted as my modem just went reset. So anyway, rock and roll. But I hope everyone...
Good to have you back, Doug.
we kind of just we finished the.
We were winging it. Yeah, we were winging it, man.
Awesome. That's the first time the host fell off. Anyway, rock and roll.
Yeah, we winged it.
Awesome. So I just want to say thank you very much.
First time the host
And
anyway, rock and roll. So I just want to say
on the end of this thing, please everyone put on their socials of some script, and I'll officially end the broadcast. So please subscribe to Doug Jong on YouTube, and like and share all this awesome stuff. Spinal Tap moment. What's the chances? Yes, but I'm glad that didn't kill the broadcast. I was like, oh no. Anyway.
Hey, Doug, I had a question.
Yes.
It's just come to me from my feed. I like a message. It says, "Hey, is Doug Jong? Is he Peter's son, former lead singer of Heroes?"
Possibly. My family, has lots and lots of people. 2.5 times twice removed divided by 10. So maybe there's
Okay.
There's a few talented people in my my family. Hopefully, I'm
Nice
one of
one.
them. But rock and roll. But lovely to meet you all, and please
thanks
stay
for having us,
online.
Doug.
Please stay online for a sec. I'm just going to pull you from the feed for a second, but stay online. And so please subscribe to the YouTube and make sure you like and subscribe. I think it's over that side. And share. See you next time.